Welcome to Afghannews with Mohsen Jamal. The Afghan parliament on Saturday agreed to pay back the government for bailing out Kabul Bank last year, a move that could pave the way for a new line of credit for the country from the International Monetary Fund, according to Afghan and Western officials. The vote in the lower house of parliament approved a supplementary budget intended to begin recapitalizing the country's central bank for the $825 million it spent to prevent the collapse of Kabul Bank last year, after revelations that Kabul Bank's leadership funneled hundreds of millions of dollars to its own shareholders and Afghan officials. The agreement by parliament was the most significant remaining prior action that the IMF demanded from the Afghan government before agreeing to a new program for the country, according to officials familiar with the negotiations. The absence of an IMF program had blocked tens of millions of dollars in foreign development aid to Afghanistan. The scandal at Kabul Bank last year threatened the country's entire financial system, with the bank's executives doling out nearly $1 billion in illicit loans to bank shareholders and other prominent Afghans, including relatives of President Hamid Karzai and Vice President Mohammad Qasim Fahim. Afghan and U.S. troops foiled a complex attack by Taliban insurgents against a NATO-led base Saturday in Panjshir Valley in eastern Afghanistan. Armed with hand grenades, anti-tank rockets and assault rifles, a group of 4 attackers, including at least 2 suicide bombers, launched the pre-dawn raid on the base. There were no casualties among U.S. military troops and American civil personnel running the base in Rohar district of the province, but 2 Afghan drivers supplying fuel for the base were killed in the clash. Provincial authorities and a spokesman for the NATO-led coalition said. NATO spokeswoman Captain Ebony Calhoun said the 2 Afghan guards were wounded but were not life-threatening. The Taliban claimed responsibility for the attack in a text message to media. 2 Taliban insurgents died and 3 others were wounded when mines they were assembling exploded in the restricted southern province of Kandahar. Senior local officials said the men were making the bombs in a tent in Dan district. State provincial government spokesman Zalmay Ayubi adding that the toll may rise. This comes as 3 Afghan border police officers and 1 child were killed in a car bombing in the Spin Boldak district of Kandahar province Friday evening. A statement from the Kandahar governor's office said an Afghan border police post was targeted in the bombing in Spin Boldak. The statement said, adding that 3 other police and 2 civilians were injured in the explosion. Meanwhile, NATO forces killed 4 civilians when they returned fire after coming under attack from insurgents in the eastern Kunar province. A provincial spokesman said on Saturday. Asif Wasifi added that the coalition forces opened fire after insurgents attacked a police post in Asmar district on Friday. As a result, a rocket hit a civilian house which killed 4 civilians and injured 6 others. He said an investigation had been launched into the incident in the Kabul press office of the NATO-led International Security Assistance Force also said they were looking into it. The head of an Islamic school and an Afghan soldier were wounded in separate roadside bombings in Lashkargah district of Helmand province early on Saturday. The provincial governor's office said in a statement 1 man was arrested in possession of a remote detonator. 8 added. A U.S. missile strike killed at least 6 suspected militants in northwestern Pakistan near the Afghan border Saturday, 2 Pakistan intelligence officials said. The officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, said 4 missiles slammed into a compound near the border town of Angurada in the South Waziristan tribal region, targeting fighters of Malawi Nazir, a Pakistani militant commander who is accused of working with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda to direct cross-border attacks. Meanwhile, Pakistani police said Saturday they had arrested a Russian and 2 nationals from Azerbaijan in Laki Marwat, a town located near North Waziristan. It was not clear how the men reached the region, which is off limits to foreigners, and authorities said they were still investigating to determine whether the men had any links to militant groups. The United States held rare direct contacts with Iran over allegations that Tehran was behind an alleged plot to kill the Saudi ambassador on U.S. soil. The U.S. State Department said on Friday, dismissing Iranian denials that any meeting had taken place. The State Department spokeswoman Victoria Nuland said that she would again confirm they did meet with the Iranians. U.S. authorities said on Tuesday they had broken up a plot by 2 men linked to Iran's security agencies to kill Saudi ambassador Al-Jubair in Washington. President Barack Obama warned Iran it would face the toughest possible sanctions over the alleged plot. Iran called the accusations a fabrication designed to stoke tensions in its relations with its neighbors already under strain over its nuclear program. British Defence Secretary Liam Fox resigned on Friday over his friendship with a businessman who posed as his advisor, jolting Prime Minister David Cameron's coalition government and potentially slowing down efforts to reform the military. Cameron named Transport Secretary Philip Hammond, generally seen as a safe pair of hands, as the new Defence Secretary. Fox, 50, who oversaw Britain's military operations in Afghanistan and Libya, admitted he had allowed the lines between his personal and professional life to blur. The British media have in the last week been awash with stories about the relationship between Fox and his former flatmate and baseman Adam Verity, 34, who met often with Fox at the Defense Ministry and on his official trips abroad. The head of the media department of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and 6 other militants were killed in an air raid on militant outposts in Yemen, Yemeni officials said on Saturday. The Yemeni Defense Ministry said Ibrahim al-Bana, an Egyptian national, died in a raid by Yemeni warplanes on militant positions in Shabwa province in southern Yemen late on Friday. Meanwhile, medics said that Yemeni security forces opened fire on demonstrators in the capital Sana'a, demanding the resignation of President Ali Abdullah Saleh, killing at least 10 people and wounding dozens more. Security forces used live rounds as well as tear gas and water cannon to try to disperse hundreds of thousands of Saleh opponents who were attempting to march on the city center from their stronghold in Chand Square, witnesses said on Saturday. And that a gun battle broke out in the Libyan capital Tripoli between supporters of deposed leader Muammar Gaddafi and forces of the National Transitional Council. Local residents on Friday said a group of armed men had earlier appeared in Abu Salim, a center of support for Gaddafi, and had begun chanting pro-Gaddafi slogans. NTC fighters converged on the Hay Nasser district of the Abu Salim neighborhood in pickups mounted with weapons and began setting up checkpoints, with many opening fire at the buildings. Fearing snipers were inside. About 20 to 50 armed supporters of Gaddafi exchanged automatic and heavy machine gun fire with the NTC forces, witnesses said. Asim al-Bashir, a fighter with Tripoli's Eagle Brigade, said the shooting began after a man was spotted raising the green flag that symbolized Gaddafi's ousted regime. And that's all for now. Thanks for joining us.